Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Weekly Poker Showdown, brought to you by Party of Poker. I'm your host, JB Staples. Excellent show coming up this week. We have bencb, Ben Rolla. It's my best German, I'm sorry, on the podcast today. Legendary poker player. He's won a $100,000 event online against Fedor. They chopped it heads up. Played some of the highest stakes and developed one of the most successful training sites out there, Raise Your Edge. So incredible poker player and person as well, and someone that I think we can all learn from. I've learned a ton from. We have a nice 35 minute conversation coming up later in the show. But before we get there, let's talk about some of the online poker news from the past week. Let's start off with some PowerFest news. And if you're a fan of this series, I've got something nice for you. It has been extended until Sunday, the 19th of April. So this is a mammoth series now. I think spanning 4 or 5 weeks. Huge poker tournaments. I'm having a blast playing it, and hopefully you are all as well. Team Party Poker Pro, Ludovic Geilich won event 223 High Roller, the $200K guaranteed PLO 6 max. He won the top prize of $63,984. His teammate Renato Nomura won event number 225M, which is a $75K guaranteed 6 max turbo for $21,083. There was an ICM shop in event 222 High, which is 150K guaranteed 8 max fast, where Team Party Poker Pro Roberto Romanello was heads up with player 123. Player 123 went on to win the top prize, and Romanello in second place. Top 3 finishers in the 1 million guaranteed phase event each won 6-figure prizes. No Means Yes won the top prize of 261K, and the prize pool was 1.3 million. Lastly, Team Party Poker Pro Kristen Bicknell finished 4th place in the 200K guaranteed 8 max progressive knockout, winning $11,726 and 5.8K in bounties. Moving on to some of the cash game leaderboards now. Myshelov 35 won the No Limit Hold'em High leaderboard 2 weeks running. The Finnish Pro won the $255 No Limit Hold'em leaderboard twice in successive weeks. In addition, his cashback and any profits from the grind, Myshelov 35 has won $20,000 from the promotions in the space of 14 days. That's crushing. Congratulations. No longer plays poker for small stakes and spends his time at the Party Poker cash game tables, playing anywhere from $1, up to $5 and $10. Myshelov 35 said, "The games are pretty tough these days, and it's not as easy to be a winning player. You need to adopt a solid but advanced playing style and follow good bankroll management." 1 million guaranteed in cash game leaderboard prizes in April. Moving on to the live poker news now. Party Poker is to host Grand Prix for dealers to support poker dealers from April 26th to May 3rd. Party Poker is going to host this event, donate all registration fees to freelance live dealers. A fund target of $100,000 has been set. Funds will go to dealers who are booked to work at Party Poker live events that have been postponed or moved online. This includes partner and sponsored events in the Triton, WPT, and WSOP circuit events. Should the target be met, Team Party Poker's Rob Young will personally match the total. More evidence that Rob Young is a legend, surprising no one. The buy-in for the tournament is $55. Day ones will run every day for the first 8 days, and qualifying players will progress to the final day on Sunday, May 3rd at 1900 BST. I will definitely be playing that event. Amazing initiative by Party Poker. Amazing of Rob Young to match the total. So you can expect me out there. I'll be streaming it, and it would be a great one for all of you to support and play so that we can get those dealers paid, those freelance dealers, and supported in this time that we're going through in the world. Moving on to some industry news now. We got to talk about the GOAT, Phil Galfond. The Galfond challenge going on the Run It Once Twitch channel and the Run It Once sites. Phil Galfond against Benny Vidi in the heads-up match. Incredible swings. Phil Galfond, if you're living under a rock, was down just over 900,000 euros at one point, almost $1 million, with about 10,000 hands played in the challenge. Well, fast forward to today, there's about 2,500 hands left, and Phil Galfond is in the lead by 40,000 euros. So one of the most incredible comebacks of all time. Absolute insanity. So inspiring. I just can't believe it. It's been a great show on Twitch. I think he's doing a great job. And obviously, I'm hoping he pulls it out here and wins the challenge in the last 2,500 hands. So that's going to be finishing up. They are streaming most days of the week, so make sure you check that out sometimes. And good luck, Phil Galfond. I mean, you got to throw a shout out to Benny Vidi as well. This has got to be an incredible challenge for him. You know, swinging up $1 million back to even-ish. Pretty crazy. So Some of the other results from online tournaments this past weekend, Finland's Kalepuro won $200,000 of a $10,000 buy-in high roller PLO 6 mags on PokerStars. Congratulations to Kalepuro. Only 7 players out of the 57 cash to share the 570K prize pool. The Turbo Series began with Mammoth T winning $81,420 in the 215 buy-in No Limit Hold'em Progressive Knockout event. I remember the Mammoth T. Always a tough player to play against, I remember. The last GG Masters event of the week ended in a heads-up chop. Saw 2 share almost $125,000. Canada's Mike 444 and Russia's Fly won $66,000 and $58,000 respectively after making a deal. The GG Series kicked off with the $5,000 buy-in with the $5,000 buy-in Sunday main event. There you go. The prize pool was $456,000 with a field of 96. Germany's Wuka won the top prize for $108,000. That's it for the online poker news and the live poker news. So let's get into the interview now with Ben Rolla, Ben CB, as a lot of you will know him. Inspiring guy. I've learned so much from him. I owe a lot of my success over the last couple of years in improving my poker game, sort of bringing it up to modern standard from his course. So really appreciated him taking the time. Without further ado, Ben CB. Joining me on the podcast today, I have an absolute legend of the game, a guy that I can attribute a lot of my personal success in growing in the game to, and that is Ben Rolla. How was my German? Was it good?
Very good.
Okay.
Very good.
Probably better known on the internet and around the world as Ben CB, the name you went under when you were anonymous for several years, but out into the public. Ben, thanks for taking the time today and having a conversation with me.
Thanks for having me.
So people probably know a lot about your poker career at this point. You are the CEO of Raise Your Edge Training. You also play a lot of the highest stakes tournaments online. But I want to go back to the start of your poker career. One of my favorite questions to get before Ben was a poker beast. How did you find the game of poker? And like, what was that journey like discovering this game?
I guess it's a very similar story as many of us, just playing in high school during the breaks with friends for 1 cent, 2 cent. Right. And I was crushing these games. And then once my friends got into poker, online poker at this point in time, of course, and they were making some decent side money, I got very much attracted as well. However, they always advised me, Ben, take it serious, study some charts, study the strategy. But I was like, what the fuck? I'm crushing the high school games, so why should I listen to them? And I think I deposited my $50, $100 3-4 times, and I just couldn't accept that it was a lack of strategy. And I was like, oh, I'm just running bad, you know. So I was blaming variance, and I was a very entitled, stuck in a victimhood mentality, young boy.
I like it, dude. Everyone has that story. Everyone has that. Like for me, it was Zynga. I was the Zynga. I was like, oh, I'm crushing Zynga. There's no reason why I can't beat these fish, you know? And 100%, yeah, lacking any accountability. So I understand.
It also has taught me a great lesson that I would like to see more people in not only the poker industry, but also in every other industry, whether it's health, fitness, mindset, business, finances, investing. I was also very, very suspicious about poker at the beginning. I thought it's all a scam, like it's gambling. How can you win in poker? And this really taught me a great lesson that if I have no clue about something and I think it's a scam or it's luck, it's gambling or whatever, in any other area like finances, for example, take crypto, I was really, even though I was very suspicious, like, Ben, you have no clue about this. You didn't spend any time studying it, diving deeper, learning it. So shut the fuck up. Let experts talk, be open, have a beginner's mindset, try to see things from the right perspective, don't judge it too early. This was something that poker has taught me, that I was very judgmental, even though I had no clue about poker.
Yes, right.
Not at all. And I try to mirror it and apply it into other areas in life as well.
I totally understand what you're saying with that openness, because I think inside the poker world, there's a lot of shutdown sort of mentality of just like, that's terrible, you're bad, you're bad. I mean, think about all the poker pros that just call all these legends of the game that have, 5 bracelets, 10 bracelets, have been around for decades. Oh, you're terrible. Like without sort of an openness to, well, why are they successful? Even though their fundamentals aren't up to snuff. Why does Phil Hellmuth have 15 bracelets now? Like, the immediate dismissal of any of his thoughts because he, raised folded with 12 big blinds and ace jack, I don't think is the right approach. I like the open mindset, even though that's pretty bad. I wouldn't do the ace jack thing, but
Yeah.
So I totally understand what you're saying. What do you think your biggest mistakes were? Coming from that entitlement and starting at the smaller stakes, like what were the biggest mistakes on your journey from playing that to playing, huge tournaments online?
It took me way too long to realize that I need people in my life to overcome the obstacles that you have along the way. I tried to figure out shit on my own, even though back then I had a circle of friends that brought me into poker, those friends that I got inspired from to take a shot at poker. But those were cash game guys. And I like cash game, but I saw myself more as a sit and go player. So I started with sit and goes, and they couldn't really help me with sit and goes. They couldn't help me with ICM. So it took me way too long. And this was then the famous group with Fedor and Stefan, until I realized, okay, it would be good to have poker friends for tournament poker and sit and go poker. And I always wanted to figure out shit on my own. I'm like, no, I don't want to give an edge away. I'm better than everyone else. I was still very entitled. I was very competitive. And I realized slowly but steady, okay, you need to have this exchange of thoughts. You need to get feedback from others. They have to tell you where you suck at so you can improve. Because let's face the truth, you can't really be 100% objective about your own game. You need to have people that tell you, okay, this is what you need to improve on. This is what you suck at. You got to get better at that. And I would say it took me years. I was too afraid. I don't want to give an edge away. This would hurt my win rate, but that's just bullshit. The synergy effects of cooperating with people, working together with people, is so much higher than each individual working on themselves. So for me, it's always then that if two people that are like-minded, that it's not 1 + 1 = 2, it's 1 + 1 = 7, because they can benefit from each other so much. And ever since I followed this principle, like my results were skyrocketing. I was just accomplishing way more. I was working way more effectively because I was working on stuff that was not effective. And then I got the feedback from others and I saw what they're actually doing good at. I can mirror that. I can copy it to a certain degree and learn from them, and they can also learn from me. And that's where every one of us excelled when Fedor, Stefan, Rainer, Koray, all these guys came together. We were playing low stakes and mid stakes. And then 1 or 2 years later, everyone of us was playing 10Ks, 50Ks, 100Ks. And this is not a coincidence. If you consider how high the variance is in poker, and that each of us was managing to play these stakes, you can see the impact of such a group coming together.
Yes. I've heard that piece of advice from 2 people, and that's you and Fedor. And you both have been incredibly successful. So I think there's something really important there for new poker players. And the great news is that it's so easy to develop a community nowadays. I mean, you have a huge Discord channel going with Raise Your Edge in your community. I have my own Discord. Each Twitch channel has their own communities, and you can find a couple dedicated people to work with there. Like, it's easier today than ever to find that group of motivated people to work together. So
it's a grind, though. It's a grind. You will also encounter a lot of toxic people, a lot of people that are going to try to take advantage of you, and you have to be very relentless and ruthless about letting go of these people and keep moving. You want to find people that you can learn from, and people that can learn from you. If it's just too one-sided, it's not going to be a sustainable relationship, and at some point one side might feel abused or exploited in a certain way. And I have also met people along the way. I just realized it's not really a match, right? Sometimes we feel, okay, we can't really get along with each other. and no strings attached, no hard feelings. There's 6 billion people out there, and it is your responsibility to find the right people. Because if you don't feel good in a relationship, if you don't feel happy, you're not in a place to share value. You can only contribute as much when you feel happy. Like if you don't feel good, you can't provide happiness, you can't provide value to others. So it might sound very selfish and arrogant, but if you think about it, then you will understand that only if you feel good and you take care of your own happiness first, then you will also be able to share that, and you'll be in a much better shape and a much better mood to help others. That's why I'm also with my team and Raise Your Edge. I'm very, very picky about the people that I let into our team to be working with, because I want to make sure that everyone feels happy with each other and is then capable of delivering good work, also contributing to a chemistry that everyone feels very content and very, very happy to be working together with.
Right. That makes total sense. Yeah. It's a hard thing to do as well. It's hard to be ruthless and sort of shed your friend group sometimes. I've had that experience in poker, because it is a toxic place sometimes. You can, it's really negative at times. So to surround yourself with people that are motivated, you're eliminating a lot of poker players that way. So I hear that. Inside your training group, when you were working sort of with Fedor and Stefan Sontheimer, and like everyone was together, what sort of things were you guys talking about? Like, what was the structure of you working on each other's games, like hands, or just like an informal chat or deep analysis? Like, how did you work together to improve?
Sometimes it was just pure chaos, to be honest. It was just Stefan with his GTO cash game background, me with my short stack ICM, no GTO background at all, Fedor with his trial and error approach, just having a lot of concepts in his head and just being good at exploiting people. Rainer also with his sit and go ICM background, and just everyone giving his input. It was just sometimes so many different approaches clashing against each other that I think it was not very structured. It was not very, but that was good, because it made every one of us to think about the different approaches. And this made us all good tournament players, because as you know, as a tournament player, you need to be very versatile. You need to be able to play different stack sizes. You need to be able to understand different types of players. I think tournament poker is the format where you will encounter so many different types of players, right? You just have from the cannon, the loose cannon, to the rock, to the loosey-goosey, tight aggressive. You encounter everyone.
Yes.
I mean, you also have it in cash game singles, but I think in tournament, it's just one table can be completely different to the other table. I think cash game, you don't have so much diversity in the types of players you encounter. But a tournament is just crazy. And
not to mention stack sizes too, man. Like,
exactly.
You play different on 40 blinds than 20, Like, I'm a nit at 40, Ben. I know it. I'm too big of a nit, and I kind of need your help with that. I'm being honest. So you guys can just, like, bluff me all over the place at 40 blinds, but at 20, I'm ready to rip it in there, man. So it's tough. I understand.
Yeah. And I think this really helped us to understand the other player types much better. And also to learn so much more about all these different spots that it can occur from 10 big blinds to 100 big blinds. I think Rainer and I were really good in contributing to make them think a little bit more outside of the box when it comes to 10 big blinds, like the Phil Hemmings style, also being able to race forward with 8, 9, 10 big blinds, to play very disguised in certain spots, to try to get away from setups where others would lose their tournament life with 12 big blinds with a marginal holding. And just thinking about alternative lines that most people would consider as standard. And I think in that way, we really developed a game that was very often outside of common sense, not common sense, but outside of the box, how most people would approach the game.
Right. What era was this that you guys were really coming up? Was this like after Black Friday?
No. 2014, we all went together on a scoop boot camp in Canada on a little island called Cherry Island, where we had a big place with, I think, that was able to accommodate around 10 to 12 people.
Right.
And we were grinding scoop, and Yeah, of course, talking. It was just talking a lot about hands, just a very very open discussion about all these sorts of different spots. And sometimes we didn't agree at all, but I think that helped.
Right. That's great, man. It's inspiring. It's really cool to see, a group of people be so successful and so recently as well. In poker is a lot different than 2009 or pre Black Friday, but it's still out there and possible. So that's great to hear. I wanted to talk a little bit about mindsets. You have Mindset Unleashed. I believe you have a mindset training course that came out.
Unchained.
Unchained. There it is. Mindset is a part of the game that's talked about a little bit, but it often isn't taken very seriously in poker. Like the discussions you hear are almost never about mindset. They're always about hands or, just tournament series coming up or what have you. So what has it been like sort of exploring the mental side of poker and putting together a course to try and help other people with their mental game of poker? What has been your mental journey in poker and what have you learned?
At some point, I realized that in order to achieve success, whether it's in poker or somewhere else, you need to have a similar mindset. I mean, poker is very much just a reflection of life. If we try to accomplish something in life, if you want to build an app, if you want to build a business, you still need luck. But what you can do is to increase the chances of being successful. And sometimes we do all the necessities that are required in order to be successful, yet it's a failure. Same as in poker. You can try to play a hand as good as possible, you can still lose. And you just try over and over again, maybe to do it better next time. And at some point I realized that, especially when I started building Raise Your Edge, that sometimes I can do the right things at the right time that I consider as valuable for others, and it's still a failure. And I had it. So it made me thinking about that if you can build something, if you can build a mindset that you can not only adopt for poker, but everything else in life, and you just exchange details, minor details, because the mindset course, of course, is tailored towards poker. But if you take out the specifics of poker, you can apply it in every area of life. And at some point, I really wanted to build something that does not only help in poker, but also help in every aspect of life. At some point, I realized, okay, listen, I'm consciously aware of that. Let's say you want to stop smoking, right? Everyone knows that smoking is detrimental to your health.
Mm-hmm.
Yet
it's hard to
people
quit,
it's hard to quit.
Thing to quit. It's tough.
So, and as scientists have found out that very often it's not the addiction itself or whatever it is, it's very often the environment we're in. And that there's so much more going on in our subconscious mind that keeps us holding back. It's like an energy that, I'm not supposed to do that shit. I'm not supposed to constantly go out and drink. And I actually don't want to do that, but somehow I'm still doing it. Or whatever you're trying to accomplish, whatever kind of positive traits you're trying to attract in your life, or the negative habits you're trying to let go of, it works out for a week or two, but it's not really permanent. It requires a lot of effort, like almost forcing yourself into not doing that.
Right.
And this, of course, is not very often permanent. And once I discovered these kind of, for me, it was a discovery, because we all have bad habits that keep us away from what we're trying to accomplish.
Yes.
So I try to understand what is going on in our minds. What is this quote unquote negative energy that is holding us back, right? And long story short, it has to do with a lot of our subconscious mind, what was going on in our childhood, how we were brought up, tragedies, impactful people in our life that taught us life in a certain way, society, social media. There's a lot of stuff that while we were growing up that we have been taught in a certain way that we don't consider that it has such an impact, because today we're grown up. But back then, it kind of ingrained in our subconscious mind so much, and it all comes up over and over and over again. The best example I always bring up to illustrate this entire concept is someone that feels very, very triggered when he faces 3-bets. He faces one 3-bet, second 3-bet, and then the same guy 3-bets again, and then he blows up.
Yeah.
Very often, and I have it a lot with my student, and they try. And the funny thing is, actually, no, it's not funny. It's sad. They read books. They put in years of work to try to learn what the fuck is going on. Why am I getting so aggressive? Why am I getting so triggered? Why can I not cope with those situations?
Yeah.
And they know everything. And I talk to them, and they can explain it to me in the best possible way. However, they still blow up. They still spew their stacks away. And then once you talk with them, and you realize they have been bullied in school.
Right. Yeah.
And this bullying is something that they have suppressed ever since. It's something they've never been coping with, never been talking with someone, never been able to show themselves vulnerable and let it come up, and just being okay with it and be accepting it. Of course, there's a certain way you can deal with that, and you can not necessarily let go, but change the relationship with it. And that will also help you in those situations to not blow up and not freak out when this kind of similar situation where someone is bullying you, in that situation 3-betting you over and over again, and you feel the same emotions, you feel the same hate, you start feeling this resentment towards this person. But it actually has nothing to do with poker. It comes from when you have been bullied in school.
Right.
And a lot of the situations of tilt can be connected with something that happened that actually has nothing to do with poker. And you can keep wasting years of work, of reading books, of doing the theory. And it's not really, maybe for 1 or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, it goes well. You're like, yeah, I've got over it. But it's connected with such a hard amount of work, with so much hustle you have to put in. And this is not really permanent, and ultimately it will come back.
Absolutely, Ben. I have a lot of areas of my life where I can testify to that being true. And what I've learned as I've been on my own health journeys, quitting smoking, learning to just be better in my life, that what you're saying is absolutely true. It's not the surface level motivation or the surface level environment. You can do a lot of things to become successful over a short period of time, but it's the underlying pain, it's the underlying problem, issue. You can think of it like as a muscle knot if you want, that needs to be fixed to feel okay, to solve those issues. And there's all sorts of mental training courses out there. There's all sorts of, whether it's diet or exercise or quit smoking, that are Band-Aids on top of the problem. Like, oh, do this and it'll fix it. And it does for a short while. But really, what you're saying, I believe to my core, and I'm really frustrated when people don't believe it, that it is that underlying, it's the deepest level where these issues arise from. So it's so funny that you talk about that, because over the last couple of days, I've been sort of outlining like a book proposal to sort of talk about my experience of bet number 1, my ultimate sweat bet that I did, bet number 2, and life since, and sort of what I've learned. And that's very much the thesis of the whole thing. So I really appreciate that. And that's a great testament to your mindset course. I think great learnings there.
Maybe if I can share just a quick example of what I was coping with. And of course, I also have we all have our demons. And it's not about fixing those demons. From my point of view, it's just trying to change the relationship, because what happened. And what most people try to do wrong is trying to resist it. And what you try to resist will persist even more, even harder. So it's just about changing the relationship. And for me, it was always something I really struggled with. It's like 2 or 3 years ago, was I always had the urge to work until I die. Like, I had problems. I was putting in 10, 12 hours of work, and I knew I had to go to bed or maybe just take some time off. And I couldn't. Like, okay, there's something else I need to do. To a certain degree, it helped me to become really good at poker, to build a poker school, to create great courses, because I have this dedication towards what I'm doing, and I try to do it as good as I can. However, it has reached a level where I saw myself, it has negative impact on my health, on the verge of burning out, feeling tired, getting more headache more and more. And I started working with people, and they tried to figure out what was and I had a mentor that was helping me to figure out, and I was reading all these books. I knew, Jamie, I need to take breaks.
Yeah.
He needs sleep, right?
Yeah.
And still, I had this inner uncomfortable feeling that now, even though I was putting in 10 hours of productive work, there's something more I can do. And I think Elon Musk, please beware, I don't want to compare myself with Elon Musk, but you can see a lot of very successful people, when they talk about their journeys, man, they don't look happy.
Yeah.
Like, they have accomplished great things, but I don't want to end up like them. Like, man, they're fucking empty. Like, I'm not saying Elon Musk is empty, but the way he talks about his journey, even though what he has accomplished, I mean, he was willing to sacrifice to sacrifice a lot of things. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm also willing to sacrifice a lot, but what he's sacrificing for the success, I wouldn't be willing to do that, to be honest. And at this point in time, I wanted to figure out, why am I like this? And then I was working with a mentor, and I was growing up in a very competitive environment. I was playing football, and my parents, they always were also very trying to push me in a good way. But I was always taught, hey, don't be weak, keep going. You have to work hard, you have to learn. And of course, and when you're 8, 9, 10, 11 years and you already start growing into that environment, this is how you learn life.
Yeah.
Right? You're not supposed to take breaks. You're supposed to hustle your work ass off. And ever since, like, I accepted this happened. I don't try to fix it. I just changed the relationship. And now if I have this inner uncomfortable feeling of, or should I go to bed or maybe study one more hour, right? Chill, you go to bed. You need sleep. And I just have a much lighter approach towards that. It's still there. It's never going to completely leave me. And it also has benefits.
Yeah.
If work is required, damn, I can put in a lot of work. But also, if I need a break, if I need some time off, I'm able to do that now. And I feel much happier. And I think the place I'm working from comes from inspiration instead of scarcity, instead of desperation, instead of being frustrated not to deliver. And I think it's a much better place to create very high valuable work.
Yeah. I like that a lot. I think about it as awareness of myself is like what I search for, and the journey that I've been on. It's the same thing of how does my brain work? And I'm not going to judge it for being different than other people or going through different experiences, but just like understanding in context to other people is like, yeah, it's a journey I've been on. I think it's the same thing. Like, there's nothing wrong with the way we are. It's just different, and knowing how it's different is useful. So anyways, that's great stuff, man. I could talk to you all day about that.
I've been always very skeptical about this shit. Like, I've never been this deep work, going back into your past. I remember the first time I worked with someone like this, he told me, you're going to cry. And I'm like, haha.
Yeah.
You know, dude, I was crying like a baby.
Yeah.
He brought me into my past. I had no way I can control it. It was not necessarily hypnosis. It was just, he was bringing stuff up, and it relieved so much pain. It relieved so much. I could really feel how this shit was somewhere buried deep in the subconscious of my mind. And I saw little Ben, and I was just down. I was like crying like a baby, but it was the most relieving feeling I've ever had.
Yeah. I'm the exact same as you, Ben. Yeah, same experience for me. And I think it'd be beneficial for a lot of people to sort of explore that, however route you go, you know, whether that's therapy or mentors these days or what have you.
Especially as men, is you have to be strong, you know. It's like,
yeah,
I think as a man, you get taught you're not supposed to cry, you're supposed to be strong. It's just admitting that you can also be weak as shit. It's just,
I take the perspective that there's strength in that, you know, like I don't know why I've always had 100%. That. I think I was bullied a lot, like grade 6, grade 7, as a weird guy. And my parents, to their credit, did such a good job, because they taught me that people that are bullying are the ones that are weak, you know, like they're in pain. So I've always just looked down on people that are mean to other people as like being broken in some way. So it's been a lot easier for me to do things like go to therapy or open up or you know, cry about something. Like, I've never felt a desire to be masculine in a man, because to me, I'm just like, well, there's weakness in like having to show strength. Just being who you are is stronger. So Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, dude, I could talk to you for hours about this, but we are on a poker podcast here, so let's keep moving here to some other stuff. But definitely check out that mindset course. So Raise Your Edge. You started this company, right? And it's you've got the tournament masterclass, right, which is sort of how everything started, and then you have the sit and go course and the cash game beginner course and the mindset course and the bounty. Like, how did you go from learning about this in poker and developing this massive training community and company? Like, when I think of that, I see just such a huge product, right? I see a massive like effort. I wrote some things down here, effort wise, marketing, product, creative, sales, financial, payments, like just all of these things. How do you go from step one to where you are now? Like, what help those of us out there that want to do big projects but can't see a way to get to where you've got to?
I got the magic pill for you.
Okay.
Find the right people. I would say the first 3 years, and it all started with the sit and go course, and it was decent. It was all right. Like, I had the guy that helped me with the website, but I designed the website by myself. Like, I told him, okay, I want to have it like this, and this is the designs, and he helped me with the backend and everything. But we didn't do any marketing. I was like, yeah, I'm going to do this by my own. And I also just didn't pay a lot of attention to who I was working with. I remember I had one programmer who deleted everything by accident. And the work for 3 months was gone, and I had to start all over again. I have no clue how he did it, but it happened. But back then it was easy to blame him. But if I now think back, I was not really paying attention on how am I going to get into my team. So at some point, I switched my approach, and I was like, I want to find the right people for this project. And now the people that are working for Raise Your Edge, they're motivated, they're self-driven. I hope and I believe so. They're very well paid. And it actually doesn't take me a lot of work to tell them what to do. And I think what most people do wrong, and of course, I'm also trying, I have mentors also for business that I can learn from. And what most people do wrong is they try to motivate the people they work with. It doesn't work like this. If someone is not motivated to play poker, you won't motivate him. So now some people might say, hey, well, isn't that the job of someone who is leading, someone who has a company, to motivate his employee? No, he's not. It's his responsibility to find the motivated people. And then if shit hits the fan, if they have a bad time or whatever, to support them, to have their backs. But if you feel like someone is lacking motivation, you have to split apart. Like, Jaime, if you don't want to play poker anymore, I can try to motivate. You're not going to play. If Doug Pollock doesn't feel motivation to play poker anymore, he's not going to play poker. Maybe he tries because he thinks that was he was doing for such a long time, and it takes a little longer for him to admit that he doesn't have the fire for poker anymore. He moves on. He does something else. And this is how it's supposed to be. And I think what most do wrong is they hold on for too long with certain people that it's pretty obvious that one of them doesn't have the motivation anymore. They just cannot admit that it's time to split apart. Is it selfish? No, it's not. You just keep wasting your time. It's just a delayed decision at some point. Okay, it doesn't work out. And if the motivation comes back for whatever reason, you can return. But let's face the truth. Once you lost the motivation for something, it's not going to come back in most cases.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And you as a leader, because for the employees or the partners or freelancers you're working with, if they usually don't have the balls, and I don't want to say it in a bad way. I can understand it. They are maybe afraid to. They usually try to stay because of the money. They're afraid they're not going to find something else, or they feel secure, so they kind of do it for the money, but they don't really feel motivated anymore. And then it's your responsibility to have this conversation. Listen, I can feel you don't have the motivation anymore. What's going on? How do you see it? And then figure out, is there a chance? Like, is there some motivation left that you can work with? Or is it really just the guy staying there and afraid of splitting apart with you? And yeah, for me, finding the people that are motivated, but once you see, okay, there is no motivation anymore, to be, hey, and it's also a responsibility that you have towards him to not keep wasting his time.
Right. That makes total sense. It seems hard to find those people. That's a whole nother thing. Ben, I'm going to have you back on the podcast at some point here, because we've got to keep it to around 30 minutes here or so that the editors on their home internet here, as we're all quarantined, can sort this. But I have one more question for you today. And it's about inspiration. So, you've won these huge tournaments. We were just talking before, the 100,000 super high roller events, heads up against Fedor for over $1 million. Like that was one of the ones, but you've had a lot of success for the last 6 months actually as well, creating this huge business. Who were your sort of like North Stars or shining lights or inspirations to develop the life that you've been able to develop in poker?
That is a good question. I think I've never really had someone that I tried to copy one-to-one. Let's take, for example, Eckhart Tolle was a huge inspiration in my life, from his self-reflection, from his level of self-awareness, how he's coping with his ego, the advice he can give for bringing more peace into his life. Do I want to live his life? No, totally not. So I always try to take the few things that some people are really good at or give very good advice and take it.
Right.
And some people try to always take one person as a role model and mirror it one-to-one and see him as this godlike human being. But I think this can be very misleading because this person has a completely different upbringing, has a completely different environment. So you should always take what is someone is really good at, or what is advice that helps you, and not necessarily copy everything else. I also have my shortcomings and stuff that I'm not good at. People should definitely not copy that. All right. So Eckhart Tolle was for sure one of the biggest inspirations in my life. I had a couple of my friends were always a big inspiration in my life. The way they were approaching things and how they got successful into poker, and also how they were coping with downswings. A lot of them had sick downswings that I learned a lot from my own downswings. So it's not always necessarily those superstars that I learned from. Gary Vaynerchuk, huge contribution and how to build a business, but also how to manage your team, how to deal with employees, especially when things are not going so well. Always very practical advice. Learned a lot from him. And there are many more. I mean, I'm reading a lot of books, and it's like I could make a list of 20 people I learned this, that from him. This guy, Dr. Dispenser, when it comes to learning more about yourself, learning about the vibrations that are going on in your body, level of energies, and all that kind of stuff, helped me a lot as well. There are just so many people that inspired me. In terms of poker players, I was just recently thinking about, I think Phil Galfond is a huge inspiration, especially with his sick comeback. But what I find it very inspiring is that if you want to change something, then try to be the change. And he's a very good illustration of that with his poker side, that I think is doing a good job as well in trying to help poker players in a certain way. Not only with his poker success that he obviously had as a crushing high stakes. Man, there are a lot of
there's endless. I want to see a YouTube video. I want to see like a blog post or something of like my 50 inspirations in life. I'd love to read some of the secondary sources of these people.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Yeah, for sure.
Ben, thanks so much for taking the time today. I appreciate it. Please come back on the show because I have a bunch of questions we didn't get to. We didn't even get to talk about the GOAT Galfond. But, at some point we can follow up and talk again in the future. So thanks for taking the time.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Big thanks to Ben for coming on the podcast. Just a great guy to talk to. I really appreciate that he, took the time to go deep with me and talk about some real things, some not surface level things there. That's really great. And I look forward to having him back on the podcast in the future. Now, before I let you all go this week and get out there and playing on the felt, we got to talk about our weekly competition, #JSPokerHero. One of you is going to represent the podcast by playing the Party Poker Million, and all you have to do is enter this skill testing competition on Twitter using the hashtag. So last week, there was 2 winners, at CDEWit13 and at KaloxD28, correctly guessing how many seats were guaranteed to the main event of the Irish Open online last Sunday. Both win a Party Poker Million ticket. So you are representing the podcast at CDewit13 and at KaloxD28. Please do your best. Represent strong. We don't have a win yet from a podcast guesser. So this is your moment, okay? Please do a strong. Try your hardest. This week's competition, the question is going to be, can you guess the nationality of the winner of the final day, the main event of the Irish Poker Open online this Sunday? What is the nationality of the winner? Make your guess before this Sunday at 7 p.m. UK time using #JSPokerHero. The winner will be drawn at random from the correct answers. So if you guess Ireland, which, by the way, might not be a bad guess, it'll be a random draw between everyone that guessed Ireland. So you got to be strategic here. Maybe you want to choose something a little more niche. Like you might want to choose, I don't know, Canada, for example. Maybe there's not as many Canada guesses and you get better odds. I'll leave that up to all of you to figure out. Thank you all so much for checking out the show this week. Let me know any feedback you have. You can tweet me at Jaime Staples. You can leave a comment if you're watching this on YouTube. Shout out to the iTunes and the Spotify people. Thank you. Wouldn't mind if you drop a review on the show so that more people can see it. That'd be great. Thank you all so much for taking the time. But until next week, we'll see you later.